As early as the 1960s in America, the feminist movement was in its infancy. No longer would women be shackled in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant, while men went to work and lived glamorous lifestyles, swilling booze and dominating women. Or they went to work in a god awful coal mine in West Virginia. Of course, I'm being facetious, but you get the idea. It seems the loudest, most privileged make our politicians capitulate most quickly to them. Your situation may vary. We want what men have, they yelled in the streets, and they absolutely got it. Work environments had become safer, easier, and much more comfortable. The time to overtake and dominate men was now. Some men may have put up a good fight, but it was a bloodless and quick battle. This isn't about equality. This has become a never ending battle for control. Those women who had been scorned, shunned, betrayed, and used wanted to ensure that women would never be under the control of men again. Life had become convenient, easy, and men had become complacent and docile. We had become a generation of Albert Bundys. And now here we are, the year 2020, 60 years of a pseudo patriarchy slash matriarchy where men are increasingly perceived as irrelevant, bumbling morons for our new female overlords. But I can understand why it all shifted, and it has been a blessing for some, but a nightmare for the rest of us. Men are still digging the trenches, taking out the garbage, building and maintaining our infrastructures, and dying in great numbers in war. In other words, business as usual. The feminist ideologies took root in schools, which were almost exclusively taught by women. We were now competing against each other. America slowly but surely turned its back on its boys, stifling them, oppressing them, making sure they were never alone from girls, dismantling the male spaces so vital for men's development, treating them as defective girls. However, they still greatly benefit from our wealth we create, and beauty and youth is becoming a very profitable industry. Like a well-oiled machine, our school industry churned out not men, but subpar shmen. We all were really messed up. As women began entering the workforce over time, they put great strain on the old structure of America. Men and women began competing against each other for the same dwindling job supply in our new technological utopia. The gender dynamic changed while old customs lingered on. Who pays for the dates? Am I a man or like a woman? Her money is her money and my money is her money? That's not fair. Do we get sex on a first date, third date, 30th date? Do we get married first, then in an apartment together, and then have kids? How will we afford a kid? Who's going to watch them? Sure, let's just be friends. Okay, all right, fine, we'll have sex. Okay, now what? It was all so confusing. Foregoing the time-honored tradition of family making for the big, exciting new world of opportunity, women had become promiscuous, entitled, crass, confused, jaded, lonely, caught in a constant battle against the female soul. They are now the new men and are doing the exact same things that they perceived men did to them in years past. You can have it all, Hollywood said. A happy marriage, prosperous career, travel, and luxury like never before. And they bought it. They were free now. But just remember, never settle for just any old guy, a nobody. We are college-educated women and we demand college-educated, prosperous men. But supply simply did not meet demand. We were all so overworked, the pressure was on. We were no longer allies, but enemies. Meanwhile, men were talking. Where did all the good women go? Dude, why are women so hard to get? How do I get a girl to like me? Man, I'll never have enough money to get a girl. And the future sociopath said, dude, you just gotta be like a jerk to him, then they'll like you, and like ignore him, and then, yeah, whatever. I always thought that was wrong. Surely there's a better way than manipulating them. Why am I your emotional tampon? I get all the bad stuff and nothing good? Being friends with these women is absolutely toxic. They were all so confused on their new roles in this world. They wanted motherhood, but it was all just too risky now. Gotta find a church girl, we said. That's where all the wives are, right? Wrong. They're too busy working. For a long time, women held the line on the battle of chastity in an increasingly sexualized world. Men were no longer the totality of the labor force. They were free as well. No longer accountable to the patriarchy. We were constantly reminded in our culture that men are inherently evil and women are infallible. Everything was fine for a while, but we caught on. Oh my god, men are always just trying to get in my lady bits. Why can't we just be friends first, then marriage, then sex? Why don't you guys care about our feelings? The remaining patriarchy did its best to protect its daughters like we've done for thousands of years, shielding them from drugs, single motherhood, evil men, and death. But, like the lambs to the slaughter, we sent them out in the brave new world. Many girls succeeded, many failed. After many years, a cultural shift, attitudes towards unmarried sex, hypersexual culture, and unfettered access to pornography, women finally gave in to their lesser desires and succumbed to their lust for male flesh. Fine, you horny perverts, we give in. Have your way with us, they said. And they liked it, at least for a while. But they are realizing that those carnal pursuits ultimately give no long-term satisfaction. It's now more common than ever for women to have upwards of 50, 100 partners before even leaving college, while some women don't engage at all and are left out. And some alpha men can quadruple those numbers, while everyone else desperately tries to follow suit. Surely that can't be healthy. Over time, men and women would throw themselves back into the dating scene again, just to pick up another sociopath, or even worse, a psychopath. Or they realized that they were a psychopath or a sociopath. They would pour their energy into wasted and toxic relationships, or they were the crazy ones to avoid as well. Increasingly disgusted with the toxic dating world of bar rooms, nightclubs, dating applications, workplace romances, and one-night stands, wary of pickup artists, douchebags, predators, mind games, and the like. We all went, or were sent, our own way. And slowly but surely over the years, as they tried their best to obtain the 20% of most desirable men in their town, that supply dried up and became 2%. The most beautiful of women had a harem of beta males completely enamored with them, who they would keep as a backup guy in case they didn't find Mr. Right, stealing them from some other deserving woman. Many did find true love, and many were left heartbroken, angry, and spiteful. Women had went their own way. Which reminds me of an old adage, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Subconsciously, these women thought, after I go to college and have like sex with tons of guys, I'm going to be totally sane when I get out and not crazy, and then I'll go start my awesome career, and then I'll travel, and then I'll find Mr. Right and have kids, like that. Well, there will always be a man for me when I'm finally ready to settle down, because they assumed men would still care about this society. Surely our men will be willing to raise another man's babies, because that's what tribes do, right? They will man up like they always did. Meanwhile, a trail of unrequited love, broken men, and broken women follows in its wake, frustrated and hurt. Meanwhile, the remaining 80% of men became 70%, and so on, eventually giving up in droves. These good, average men sat at home, resigning themselves to a life of celibacy, pornography, individual pursuits, prostitution, complacency, and acceptance. Stunted and dazed at this bizarre world of post-consumerism. Swearing bitterly how our women betrayed us, and never trusting one again. We became solo men. We made money. We survived. Many succumbed to death. Ever wary of gold diggers, users, mind games, and heartbreak. Pursuing foreign women or weeping alone, covered in Cheeto dust and Mountain Dew. Women by and large had become unobtainable. Men had to go their own way, giving rise to a pseudo-philosophical movement called MGTOW. Men unanimously agreed that the only way to win in this new rigged mating system is to simply not play. An archaic court system with laws and attitudes from the 1900s, pervasive divorce culture where men would lose their money, homes, and be indentured financial servants with limited access to their children or former wife. After many years of pursuing their careers, friendships, casual flings, and one-night stands, this generation of women started to feel the icy hand of time approaching. With a dwindling supply of men, they realized that great, now we have to settle, and they have to settle for us. But men no longer want that. One by one, the ranks of both sides are being filled with the scorn of those that abused them. They finally asked, why did all the good men leave? Because we thought you didn't need us anymore. Of course we need you, silly Billy. But why? I don't know. We just do. We can't live without you. Well, we can't live with you anymore. Because I didn't get you at your prime, now you can't get me at mine. While we both have a train car of baggage following us anyways. And now here we are, a lot of unhappy people who missed the bandwagon of a life of early marriage, sexual partner safety, bonding, and life building. But it's not all our fault. We tried. It's just how it is now. Stuck in boring jobs as baristas and delivery drivers and gig workers. Angry at the opposite sex, wages stagnating. Our country is being replaced by other people. Men and women are lonelier and more dissatisfied than ever. We have forgotten that unity is our strength. The Bible says that humans were put on this earth to be fruitful and multiply, but we don't have much other purpose on this earth. We are not a food source for some alien race of booger blob creatures that feast on us every 10 years. And there is no God visiting us daily from the clouds saying, hello, little earth bugs. How are you doing, my little people? Oh, look at that. Someone is taking a dump in the street in India. Hello, little poopy men. No. It's just us. And this is why I am self-titling the 1980s to 2010 as the baby bummer generation. We just couldn't reach a consensus on how to push forward in this country. However, it's not over yet. We can still push forward in this new generation. And sure, there are chances at meeting a good mate are not tainted by promiscuity and vapidism. We must remember that feminism can be toxic and masculinity can be toxic and meet somewhere in between. Mutual respect, understanding ourselves and our roles, allowing more good men some room to prosper. But unfortunately, the gender dynamic of Americans of European descent is sadly and with great regret unfixable. We must implement conservative values again. I hope that future generations of Americans will find unity, peace, and prosperity, and learn from this toxic generation that it sadly may be built on the ashes of an old one. This is Matthew Morgan. Thank you for listening. Always be thinking, stay safe, and stay frosty.